Lesson 4, Morphology of Flowering Plants. Hello students, welcome back to the class. In this video, I am going to talk about a very important part of the shoot system, and these are the leaves. So we know that leaves, it does a very special function to the plant body, that is the synthesis of food. In this class, let's study the general characteristics of the leaves. Here, the general characteristics it implies to the physical appearance, their origin, their nature. So, let's at first discuss the first point, that is about its physical appearance. The leaves, they are the lateral, dissimilar, flattened outgrowth of the stem, and it is arranged always in acropetal order. The leaves, they are always formed sidewise of the stem. That is why it is always lateral in its position. And they are always dissimilar because leaves, they do not have a particular shape. They may change their shape. So that is another vast part going to study about the different shapes of the leaves. Or you have already seen different types of leaves nearby you in case of different types of plants. Some are broad, some are very small, some they have some kind of constriction, some are linear, etc. So they are dissimilar in their general characteristics, and they are generally the flat structures which grows as an outgrowth of the stem. And one thing to be kept in mind is that the leaves, they are formed always in acropetal order. Now, what does the word acropetal order mean? It has a very simple meaning. Acropetal, that means that the older leaves, it will be always towards the lower part of the stem, and towards the tip of the stem always we will find the young leaves. The buds, they are present towards the tip of the stem, and it bears the young part. So this arrangement where the older leaves, they are towards the lower side and the younger leaves or the newly formed leaves towards the upper side, that is called as acropetal order or acropetal succession. So leaves, they are always formed in acropetal succession. Now let's come to the important point, another important point, that is about the origin of leaf. Leaves, they are always originated from the leaf primordium, which is formed from the cotyledon of the embryo. So the leaf primordia, as the stem axis it increases in its length, the leaf primordium that grows from each of the nodes of the stem, and therefore the leaves, they have their origin from the nodes of the stem. In very simple words, they are formed from the leaf primordia during its embryonic stage, and as the stem it elongates, it always forms from those special structures which are called as nodes, which is found on the stem, as we have discussed in the last class. And they are always exogenous in origin. Exogenous, that is already discussed in the previous class, that exogenous, it means that their whole occurrence of origin, that is towards the outer side of the body. The tissues, they are arranged towards the outer side of the stem, and that is why we can tear the tissues, and when we tear the tissues, the stem, it gets detached from the stem. That is its exogenous nature. That is why the point says that it is always developed from the nodes of the stem, and they are exogenous in its origin. Now let's come to the third point. As we know that the leaves, as we know that the stem, they have an axial point. Axial point. So in the diagram, as you can see, that is the point in between two stems. First is the main stem, and from the main stem, when another stem it arises from the node, that particular point, that is called as the axial point. And that axial point, it always bears an axillary bud. So the leaves, they do not have any kind of apical bud. As in case of stem, we see that they have an apical bud, but in case of leaves, we always find the axillary bud which is present in the axil of the stem. So that is the next important point to be kept in mind. Leaves, it has limited growth. That means it is very important to note that the leaves, they do not grow as like that of the stem. So they have a limited growth. They attain a particular shape, and after that they stops its growth. So we always find the leaves to be in a definite size and always in a definite shape. So that is the next important point. Then comes the fifth point, that is the leaves, they do not have any apical bud. As I have discussed it earlier, they do not have any kind of apical bud, and they do not have leaves, they do not have any definite apical bud, and also they do not have any growing point, a regular growing point. That means the leaves, they will always be born from the nodes. Wherever the node will be, the leaves, it will always be present there on the axil of the stem, from where the leaf will arise. So they do not have a growing point. And lastly, the color of leaf, that is green in color. The green color, it comes because of the pigment chlorophyll, and as the leaves, it bears abundant of chlorophyll pigments, therefore they can photosynthesize. That means they can manufacture their own food. So what are the points that we have discussed till now? These are about the physical appearance, then comes the origin, the position, and about the color of the leaf. Leaf, they are one of the most important part of the shoot system, and therefore they are also called as the kitchen of the plant body. Now let's discuss about the parts of leaves. The parts of leaf, it mainly comprises three regions. These are the leaf bases, petiole, and the lamina or the leaf blade. The leaf base is the lower portion of the leaf or the basal part of a leaf by which it is attached to the stem. They are provided with two lateral small leaf-like structures called stipules. So the part of the stem from where the leaf develops, that particular point, it is called as the axil. And right at the axil point, there is a special position over the stem, which we call it as a node, and in that particular region, the point of attachment of the leafy structure along with the stem, this is only called as the leaf base, which is supported by some tissues. And sometimes in case of some plants, it also bears two lateral leaf-like structures, which is called as the stipules. Small leaf-like structures which are called as the stipules. Now, from the region of leaf base, there comes a stalk-like structure, and it is called as the petiole. Therefore, A petiole is a cylindrical structure of a leaf which joins the lamina to the base, and it helps the leaf blade to get sufficient sunlight exposure. Generally, this petiole, or in common words we can call it to be the stalk, it exposes the leaf blade towards sunlight. Sometimes some leaves, they can also be sessile. That means they do not bear any kind of petiole. And the third part, this is called as the lamina or the leaf blade. The lamina is a flat, thin, expanded green and conspicuous structure. It is always flat and it bears two surfaces. One is the upper surface and other one is the lower surface. The surface which faces towards the stem, that is called as the upper surface or ventral surface, or that we also call it to be the adaxial surface. And the part which is lower to it, this is called as the dorsal surface or abaxial surface. Then it is the seat of photosynthesis, gaseous exchange and transpiration. As we know that the tissues in the leaves, it bears the chlorophyll pigments. Therefore, it acts as a site for the purpose of photosynthesis where they can prepare their own food, and therefore we call the leaves to be the kitchen of the plant body. Along with that, because of the presence of some small pores which is called as the stomata, they can also perform the gaseous exchange and transpiration. The lamina are provided and supported by veins and veinlets which contains vascular tissues. The veins and the veinlets, these are the pathways through which the vascular tissue it runs from the middle prominent vein which is called as the midrib. This vein, it is a continuous pathway right from the roots to the leaves of every plant body, and the prominent one that comes within the leaf and it goes right straight from the center of the leaf, this is called as the midrib region or principal vein. And those branches that comes out, these are called as the veins and the veinlets. So these are the three broadly divided parts of the leaf, that is the leaf base, which is the point of attachment in between the stem and the lamina of the leaf. Petiole, that is the stalk-like structure which is cylindrical in nature that joins the lamina to the leaf base and also exposes it to the sunlight, and the whole platform where the physiological activities it takes place, which is a flat green structure, it is called as the lamina or the leaf blade. The lamina or the leaf blade, as you can see there in the diagram, that it possesses a tip. Leaf, it also possesses the leaf margin, and there in the diagram the axial point that is shown. Now let's come to another important term which is called as venation. Venation, in very simple words, it means the arrangement of the veins and the veinlets in the lamina of the leaves. Now we know what is the lamina. of a leaf. So that is the flat broad part of the leaf. So there we find some rays that is spread over the lamina of the leaf. So these are actually the veins and the veinlets that arises from the midrib region of the leaf. And the function of this veins and the veinlets, it is to transport water and minerals that comes from the root to the leaves, and from the leaves it is carried to different parts of the plant body, where the plant body in those parts where the plant body it cannot synthesize their own food. So that is this purpose of the veins and the veinlets that is present in the lamina of the leaves. And what does this word venation mean? It is the arrangement. That means we find this venation differently in different types of plant bodies. So I hope you have understood the word venation. It is the arrangement of the veins and the veinlets that arises from the midrib region. That is the principal vein which just continues right from the root system to the shoot system till the tip of the lamina of the leaf. So in very simple words, again I am repeating that it is the arrangement of the veins and the veinlets in the lamina of the leaf. Now let's come to the types of the venation. We get two types of venation. One is reticulate venation and the another one is the parallel venation. Reticulate venation is when the veins and the veinlets, they are born from the midrib region and they takes a network like pattern, because the veins and the veinlets or different veinlets, they grows one above the other over the other, and it forms a network pattern which spreads in the lamina of the leaf. So as it takes the shape as it takes the pattern of network, therefore it is called as reticulate. The word reticulate, in simple words, it means network. And such type of reticulate venation we can find it in case of dicotyledons. Dicotyledons, here it means the plants such as neem, mango, guava, jackfruit, banyan tree, peepal tree, many herbs such as carrot plant, then comes the ajoratum plant, then comes the cabbage plant. In all these plants which belongs to the dicotyledonous plants or dicotyledonous category. So in all the dicotyledonous plants we find the leaves to be having reticulate venation. Now let's come to the next type, which is simpler one, which is called as the parallel venation. Here it means that along with the midrib region, so the veins and the veinlets, they will run parallelly with each other, and therefore that is called as the parallel venation, and this is found in case of the monocotyledonous plants. Now which are the monocotyledonous plants? These are normally the grasses, bamboo, sugarcane, betel nut tree, coconut tree, date palm, etc. So all rice plant, wheat plant, so all this they belongs to the monocotyledonous family. In fact, banana, so where we find larger leaf, so there also you can observe or identify. So with the help of this venation process, we can identify two types of the angiosperms. One is the dicotyledonous, another one is the monocotyledonous, just by observing the lamina of the leaf, its venation in the lamina of the leaf. I hope that these 2 points that is clear to you. Reticulate venation and parallel venation. These are the broadly divided part of the venation process. Now let's discuss about the types of leaf. It is of 2 types. These are the simple leaves and the compound leaves. Simple leaves. As you can see in the diagram that there are 2 types of leaves. There, the simple leaf is said to be when its lamina is entire or undivided to any depth, but not up to the midrib or petiole. So there, the leaf, it develops right from the node, and that whole leaf, it is the entire one, where the petiole doesn't get divided, and since the petiole doesn't get divided, the lamina of the leaf, that is also undivided. And the pattern of incision, that depends upon the types of venation there. Example for simple leaves are leaves of mango, then comes the leaves of guava plant, jackfruit plant, peepal, banyan tree. They all belongs to the simple leaf category. Now the next is the compound leaf. A compound leaf is that where the lamina is completely broken up into distinct segments or leaflets which are separated at the base through rachis. Now in case of the compound leaf, what happens that the entire lamina, it gets divided by the midrib region, and this midrib region, it becomes the rachis of the compound leaf. The divided segments of the lamina, in case of this, it is called as, in case of the compound leaves, it is called as the leaflets. And this whole separation, it gets started right at the base of the leaf. So this is one difference between the simple leaf and the compound leaf. In case of the simple leaves, the entire lamina, it was undivided, and in case of the compound leaves, the entire lamina, it becomes divided. Also, another important difference that we can see in case of the simple leaves and the compound leaf, it is that the simple leaves, the axil, it bears the axillary buds, but in case of the compound leaves, though the axil of the main leaf, it bears the axillary bud, but the leaflets, it doesn't bear any kind of axillary buds. In case of the leaflets, they cannot again form other leaves from it. The compound leaves, it is again divided into two types, that is the pinnately compound and the palmately compound leaf. The pinnately compound leaves are borne laterally on an elongated axis called as the rachis, which represents the midrib of the leaves. So that we have already discussed. And as the leaflets, it looks like that of the pinna. It is pinna shaped. Therefore, it is called as the pinnately compound. And the other type of the compound leaf, that is the palmately compound leaf, the entire leaflets are attached to a common point, that is at the tip of the petiole. So there the leaflets, they appears to be in a foliated form, and it takes a circular pattern or semicircular pattern, as all the leaves, they are attached to a single point. In case of the pinnately compound leaf, we don't find any kind of common point, but here in case of the palmately compound leaf, it is there attached to a common point, that is at the tip of the petiole, as we can see in case of oxalis. And in case of the pinnately compound, there the leaflets, they will form from different points over the rachis. So this is all about the two types of leaves.